When we're talking about instant gratification, what we're really talking about is craving, right? That's really what we're talking about here, craving. In my world, or in the world of meditation, most of the teachings, thousands upon thousands of teachings in all different traditions and applications of meditative practice, it's really taught and understood that craving is really at the heart of human suffering. Think about that for a moment. Craving is at the heart of human suffering. Let me kind of flesh that out for us. And I'm going to start doing this by going back to our neurobiology. So our neurobiology, our brains are designed to look for lack. Our brains are naturally predisposed, has a natural tendency, a hardwiring to both look for, find, seek lack. Let me give you an example. So let's say you've built this amazing fortress around yourself to keep yourself safe, which your brain would love, right? Brain's number one job is to help you to survive. You've built this amazing fortress, this amazing fence, but then you see over there and you start to clue into the fact that your fence is missing a couple planks over on the left side of things. So your brain will help you forget about the amazing fortress that's built almost like 360 degrees, and it'll focus on the 5 degrees of where the planks look weak or they're not totally fortified. The brain is designed to seek lack because it thinks that if I find lack, then I can work to fill it, and then I'll be more safe. It'll positively impact my ability to survive. But then what happens is we fill that lack, and then because the brain is naturally predisposed to find lack, to seek it out, you're just going to find it somewhere else. That's part of our natural neurobiology, right? The other thing that your brain is hardwired to do is to always want more. If you have something good, it would make sense that if you had more of it, that would be even better. And then the brain thinks so that if we run out, we have backup, right? So you have 2 closets stuffed full of clothing, but if something happens in that first closet, you lose it in a fire, it gets spilled on, rain damage, at least you have that second closet of clothes so that you won't be left clothless. That's kind of hard to say, clothless, right? So the brain is also predisposed to always want more, to fortify your stockpile, get more and more and more and more and more. It's one of the ways it makes life a little bit more certain, right? Fortify our ability to survive so that we don't run out of anything. So craving is really built on our neurobiological tendency to see lack and to always want more. That's where craving comes from. It's built on our neurobiological tendency to see lack and to always want more. That's where craving comes from. Now, to circle back to how craving is really at the heart of human suffering, where suffering comes from is from wanting our present moment to be something other than it is. That's the source of human suffering, wanting things to be other than they are. That's at the heart of craving, and that's at the heart of human suffering, wanting things to be other than they are, wanting them to be different than they are in any given moment. So a couple examples. Let's say I'm at the grocery store and the line is really long and I start feeling impatient. Impatience is a form of stress, and stress is a form of suffering. That's what it is. It's a formulation of suffering. Where that suffering is coming from is I want the line to be going fast, and instead the line is going slow. That's the source of our stress. That's the source of our suffering. Wanting what's happening in our present moment to be something other than it is. Or I go to the doctor and she tells me that I have cancer, which absolutely happened to me. Where the stress and suffering is coming from is I want her not to be saying that to me vehemently, right? I want to not have cancer, and I have it. So I'm wanting my present moment experience to be something other than it is. That's where craving comes from. That's at the heart of human suffering. If I saw this present moment as having absolutely everything I could possibly want and need, I wouldn't have craving. But because we don't see our present moment this way, craving arises. Now you might say, well, Michelle, but of course I'm going to feel upset and suffer if I get a cancer diagnosis. And I'm actually agreeing with that. I experienced a tremendous amount of stress and suffering when I went through that experience. But what we're actually talking about is where the suffering is coming from, where the stress is coming from. It's coming from craving, which is in essence not seeing this moment as enough, which is wanting, craving for this present moment to be something other than it is. So walking this back through a practice of training your brain to see wholeness more in your life's present moment is one of the fundamental applications of mindfulness practice as it relates to human suffering. How we walk this phenomenon back, how we start to unravel the coil of craving that we've been living under its tension practically our whole lives, how we start to unravel the coil, the tension of that is through training our brains to focus more on the wholeness of the moment rather than on the lack of the moment. Training our brains to see the enoughness of the moment rather than leaving it focused on wanting more, more, more. So it's a training, it's a repetition, it's something that you teach your brain to do, and in that repetition, we start to change the hardwiring of our brains. And one of the fundamental gifts of learning this teaching is that now when it arises, we can first say, oh, that's my neurobiology. So it's not that I'm a loser, I'm weak, I'm not strong enough, I'm an overconsumer, I'm greedy. Oh, it's my brain's natural neurobiological tendency to do this. And then we can engage in mindfulness practice directly designed to help us focus in on and really see and feel the experience of the wholeness, the perfectness, the fullness of any given moment. Let me share with you an example from real life, and then I'll take you through a practice of it. So one of the ways this appears for me personally is we have family movie nights, mostly on the weekends, and I love it. I love it so much. So in my family, my little family, we tend to dogpile on top of us. So we have this one little couch and we all get on it, even though there's another empty couch right over there. Me and my husband and then my kids like lie all on top of us. And oh my God, I just love this. And one of my kids always like makes popcorn. He likes that. And we've kind of tried to amplify the popcorn experience. We've got little boxes of, oh, here's one right here. How'd that get there? Right? So we get these little boxes of popcorn and oh, it's just a wonderful experience. But then what happens is when I run out of popcorn, it's a little box, right? Is I start to want more. And now my practice used to be, and you can, if you know people who know me, they can attest to this. I can be a crazy animalistic muncher. I really can. I can go way overboard. Not so much anymore. But in my past, I have had that strong tendency of wanting to fulfill instant gratification with food, with munchies. I love salty, crispy munchies. So now what happens when I run out of my little portion of popcorn is I go, oh, I want more. That was good. I want more to make it better. Now I go, oh, that's my neurobiology. And right there, it brings me a little bit of relief. It's not Michelle just being greedy. It's my natural brain tendency. It's my neurobiology. And then what I'll move into right in that moment is I'll practice being fully present with the absolute fullness, wholeness of the moment, feeling my kids, their weight of their bodies on my body, feeling the breath, feeling the warmth of my husband beside me. And then the neurobiology will kick in again. Oh, but more would make this even better. And I come back, I go, oh, there it is again. There's my good old brain. And I come back to this training of really leaning into the richness and the fullness of the moment, that which I already have. So this is one of the ways that we get to break free from some of this cycle of craving, this cycle of always wanting things to be other than they are. If what gets us stuck in that cycle or in that addiction is seeing lack in the present moment, what might unwind that for us? Seeing fullness, right? It makes sense. It should make sense. So we train ourselves to really see and feel and really get to know the fullness of the moment. Now, before we do our meditation, it should be said that some moments aren't full of what you need to survive. Me on the sofa with my kids is knocking it out of the park, but like if my car is broken down on the side of the road, I don't necessarily have the fullness of the moment happening as it relates to my survival. So this wouldn't be a practice I might do there. Instead, my car broken down on the side of the road, I might go to certainty, the previous practice, right? I would go to feeling my feet on the ground, feeling my phone in my hand as I call for help, feeling my wallet in my pocket, feeling the coldness of the air, really trying to tune into the certainty of the moment because I'm in an experience of certainty. But in those other moments, we're at home, we're comfortable, we have everything we need, roof over our head, comfy, cozy bed, and you see that neurobiological tendency kick in of wanting just something more, something to enhance the moment. This is great, but it would be better with chips and dip and salsa and whatever it is. Then this practice is apropos. This is the perfect practice to do in those moments, seeing and feeling and really teaching ourselves to experience the utter fullness of most of the moments in our lives, if we're honest, is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being present for what is. It's the practice of being present with the utter richness and fullness and aliveness and connectedness of actually most of the moments of our lives.